brother. How are you doing today, brother? Have you ever thought that maybe the enemy of Africans is not necessarily Europe or any of the Western countries, the way they put it to us? And maybe the enemy of Africans is somebody very different. Have you ever sat down and thought about it? Like maybe they've told us that the enemy of Africans are the colonialists, so we can focus on them and relieve our eyes from scrutinizing other options. Maybe the enemy of Africans is somewhere else. Or maybe not. Or have you ever thought perhaps maybe your enemy one day can do you good? How about that? Is that something you ever consider? There's a possibility that somebody that you perceive as your enemy sometimes in the future does something that actually help you out. Let's look into this. An African country is taking France to court for something very shocking. This country right here, it's called Equatorial Guinea, has filed a case in the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, my brother. This is big against France. Well, they're accusing France of violating international law by refusing to return a luxury mansion valued at 100 million euros.
C'est que la France confisque les biens acquis sur son territoire au moyen de détournement de fonds publics des États tiers, de préférence africains, s'approprie en son tour les mêmes biens ou le produit de leur vente en refusant simplement toute restitution aux États victimes, lesquels se retrouvent ainsi 2 fois spoliés.
Crazy stuff. Well, you're clearly asking yourself, why was the property seized? I mean, $100 million, that's a lot of money. The property was seized by French authorities following the 2017 conviction of Teodoro Obiang Mange. Who is this guy? He is the Equatorial Guinea vice president. Now, why was this property seized? Well, they say it's because of corruption and money laundering. Now, who is this man? Well, you remember we just said this person is the vice president of Equatorial Guinea. Well, he is also the son of the president of Equatorial Guinea. Well, I never knew that African countries were actually kingdom. Well, if you ever doubted of it, here's the proof. The president is the father. The son is the vice president. Oh, well, what a beautiful form of democracy. Well, his father is this man right here. His name is Teodoro Obiang Mbasogo. He has ruled Guinea since 1979, my brother, making him the longest serving non-royal head of state in the world in 2025. The man has been in power since 1979. Guess who he toppled? Well, he toppled his own uncle from power. His own uncle was president. He toppled the uncle for him to become president. Well, his uncle's name was Francisco Matias Nguema. Well, once again, I think this is a very interesting thing to think about. Just think about it. Your nephew takes you out of power. How interesting is that? I mean, you will do most of the things for your nephew, right? If you wouldn't do everything or anything for your nephew, you're probably going to do a lot of things for your nephew. You probably would have pushed your nephew to be one of the highest level, whatever, in government if you wanted to, or one of the most powerful people in whatever that is, business perhaps. But no, nephew wants to be the king in your behalf. Again, no confusion. This is a country, it's not a kingdom. So the uncle was president, toppled by the nephew. The nephew became president many years ago, since 1979. Then he assigned his son to become the vice president. The son is the one who's accused by Europeans of money laundering and embezzlement. And from him, they have seized a 100 million euros mansion. Well, you maybe want to know a little bit about the son. This is the son right here. He's the biggest hustler ever. Not a hustler, but you know, when you talk about slay queen, this is a slay king. This is the man. He's usually on social media. You can find him. He's always showing big things, big cars. He gets into Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all these big shops and buy big things. Very, very expensive stuff. You'll see him in yachts, in big mansions. In the meantime, people in the country, a lot of them at least, are living into poverty. Crazy stuff. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, okay, but well, this is an African matter. Why would Europeans get involved with this? Isn't this some sort of form of colonialism and, you know, trying to patronize people? What does Guinea want? Equatorial Guinea seeks provisional measure to block France from selling the mansion and to regain immediate access, alleging neocolonialism and infringement of its sovereignty. So basically they're saying the court must disallow France from seizing these goods, including the mansion. They must allow them to have access to the mansion. And again, they say this is a sign of colonialism. I mean, why would you get involved into matters that don't concern you? This is a foreign country, an African country. And the vice president decided to buy a mansion worth $100 million. Why do you get involved? This is none of your business. I mean, so they want the court to act in a way that they can recuperate the building. you're probably curious to find out what the property looks like. My brother, the property is 101 rooms. Yes, 101. Wow, like, who needs 101 rooms right now? It's a massive mansion in Arc de Triomphe. This is Arc de Triomphe. And some of the features of the house, there is a cinema, a hammam, a nightclub in the house, my brother. You have a nightclub, so the president or vice president don't need to go to no club. He has a club at home. There is gold water taps, so the taps in gold, which obviously estimated at 100 million euros. That's more than $100 million. How much is that in rent? How much is that in naira? No, forget about it in naira. Okay, let's continue. Now, what's been seized again in his lavish lifestyle, it's not just the mansion. There's supercars. We're talking about Ferraris, Bugattis, Maseratis. He also has the Michael Jackson memorabilia. He bought it, and high-end real estate. Now, you're probably asking yourself what's happened, like what triggered all of this? Well, a French investigation started with this. Following the 2011 complaint by civil society group like Transparency International, French authorities investigated Obiang for money laundering and embezzlement of public funds. So look at this here, Transparency International. Who are these people? I mean, within what rights do they feel they can investigate the president, or at least the vice president, or the son of the president? Okay, a bit confusing there. Yeah, son of the president who's a vice president, for using the money of a country that's foreign. Why would this organization, Transparency International, trying to find out, stick their nose into business that don't concern them? We're going to find out about who these people are. Transparency International is a global NGO dedicated to fighting corruption and promoting transparency, accountability, and integrity in all sectors of society. Interesting. When were they founded? They were founded in 1993 in Berlin, and their global presence is in 100 different countries. They're almost all over across the world. While they do research and report, basically they are the people that examine the country and give a report, an annual report on how corruption is happening in the country. I mean, you heard a lot of stories, people saying that Nigeria is one of the most corrupted countries, or not the most corrupted country in the world. These are the people that give all these definitions throughout research, intelligence services, and analysis. So if today you can go on the internet and find out which country is corrupt, it's because of it. The founder is a man named Peter Egan. Who is Peter Egan? Peter Egan is a German man. He used to work at the World Bank. He worked for 20 years at World Bank, where he saw firsthand how corruption was damaging development projects. So the man worked for World Bank for 20 years. And what is World Bank? It's right here. World Bank is this organization, international organization, that gives money to countries. You probably want to ask how? Why? Well, many African countries, I mean poor countries or shaitan countries, okay, many African countries, when they need money for infrastructure development, let's say they want to build an hospital, they're going to go ask money to World Bank. Maybe they want to build schools because there isn't enough schools for the children. Roads or something very similar. Market. One of the options is to go to World Bank and ask for money so they can start their project. But unfortunately, in many cases, let's find a stupid example. Let's say the school only costs $10 million. They're going to go ask for $50 million. When they come, instead of building the school with $10 million, they will assign perhaps $5 million to build a low quality school and spend the rest of the money, about 30 or 40 something million, on themselves. Unfortunately, that's a reality of many African countries. They give them money so they can build roads and hospitals. They don't spend all the money on road and hospital. They will act like they are doing so, but they don't do to the highest level because they always want to have some part of the money they can spend on themselves. Now, this man, Peter Egan, founder of this transparency community, has worked at World Bank for many years. Therefore, he's seen firsthand how African presidents misuse the money they get from World Bank and other organizations. Therefore, he said we need to hold these people accountable. Therefore, let's create this organization where we can follow through and follow up with every expenditure that is not justified. Now, let's get back to our president. The vice president. In 2012, police raided the mansion and seized all the assets, luxury cars, Bugatti Veyron, Rolls-Royce Phantom, artwork, and many other things. In 2017, this man was actually convicted. A French court convicted him in charges of money laundering, embezzlement of public funds, abuse of public trust, and misuse of public money for personal enrichment. We're seeing here a European country convicting the vice president of an African country on money embezzlement of public funds, abuse of public trust, misuse of public money on his personal purpose, like you have never seen before. Now, how do you feel about this? Is this paternalism? Is this, colonialism? Or do you think this makes sense? Well, he was convicted in absentia, meaning Teodorin did not attend the trial. He had a 3-year suspended sentence, which means he was found guilty, but the court imposed a suspended sentence. What does this mean? This just means that he will not go to prison unless he commits another crime within a certain time frame. So you're talking about a vice president of another country. We're saying we are giving you 3 years suspended sentence, meaning if you commit another crime, we're going to throw you in jail. How do you feel about this? On one hand, you go like, okay, this is colonialism, paternalism. Why would you do that? How dare you talk like this about another country's president, at least vice president? On the other side, when you look at the people that are going through difficulties, no water, no hospital, no school, no whatever, do they feel like justice? Question mark. Obviously, the Guinean government appealed the verdict to a higher court, but unfortunately, it was upheld. So the question here is this one. What will France do with the thing that they seize? Okay, so $100 million worth of mansion with many other things, cars, phantom, watches, and many other riches. What is France going to do with this? Now, France is going to collect all of this stuff and sell them into auctions. Okay, they're going to sell everything. They're going to sell everything and the money will become a property of the French state. And I know this feels like stealing, right? Yes, it sounds like stealing, like taking other people's... I mean, you just prosecuted a guy that you say is embezzling money, is corrupt, but you take the money for your own self? That's crazy. Well, in 2021, France passed the landmark law to ensure ill-gotten gain is returned to the people it was taken from. So, in other words, all the money that will be taken from selling all these things that belong to the vice president, the son of the president, in Guinea Equatorial, will be kept in France, then will be returned to Africa. Clap your hand. Oh, no. Don't clap your hand too fast. It's not going to be returned to the people in form of cash. It's going to be returned in form of fund development project to the victims of the country. So, in other words, France will assign the money to NGOs, not to people. These NGOs will go to Guinea and do work, help the people, build schools, assign some money for small entrepreneurs, not give them money directly. So they're going to manage it. Okay. As much as it sounds like we're giving the money back to the people, it's still us. We have the money, we give what we want and how we want in the speed we want. Now, why does France feel like they can do this? You're probably asking yourself the question. Same as Transparency International, they feel like some of the money at least come from World Bank. And I mean, as much as Guinea, don't get me wrong, he's rich, got so much oil. There's a lot of big projects happening. They still believe that the country has also taken loan from World Bank. Therefore, they should be responsible for the negative things that are happening in the country. Even though it's your money coming from your oil, it's not necessarily yours because you don't own the country. Okay, there are human beings that live in that country and they have problems. So when you decide to take money that doesn't belong to you but belong to the country for your own benefit and purpose, they have the rights to intervene. Well, who sponsor these people? Obviously, this Transparency International has to be sponsored, or else where do they get the salary from? We're talking about the European Commission, the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. There's also private foundations like the Open Society Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation. I know it all sounds twisted, but how do you feel about this in general? Does this make sense? Should a European country seize things that belong to an African country because it's not justified, in the name of embezzlement and looting and stealing from the country? I mean, on the other hand, as much as you want democracy, you want respect for your country, how do you justify money that's supposed to be belonging to the people buying stuff that are personal? Because the vice president justified the mansion, saying the mansion is part of the embassy. But the French government said, we know the embassy of Guinea, it already exists here. We already have an embassy that belongs to you here. This is not an embassy. The reason why you're saying this is an embassy is because you know we were into an investigation trying to find out what this really means. And why should the embassy be worth $100 million with Bugattis inside? Well, fellas, this is not the first time something like this happened, okay? Back in the past, there's a president named Mobutu Sese Seko from Zaire. Zaire is this country here. It's now called Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. It used to be a very respected country back in time with Mobutu, I know he started with good things and stuff, but with time, unfortunately, he became a dictator, unaliving many people and critics. But Mobutu also lost things, many luxury assets and bank accounts in Europe were frozen and seized after the regime fell. He had a lot of money. He had billions of dollars in Swiss, he had billions of dollars in many other countries. Unfortunately, when he lost the war, they took many of the stuff from him. They say up until now, some of his family members are still trying to get some of the wealth that he had left in Europe, hoping to gain access to it. There's also this man right here, Sani Abacha, from Nigeria. He used to be the president in Nigeria. Back in time, his assets worth $500 million were frozen in Swiss, UK, and US account. $500 million. Now, they returned that money back to Nigeria. Congratulations. Well, if Nigerians see the money, well, that's another question. But the money was returned. That was seized from this man, $500 million. There's also this man, number 3, Omar Bongo Ondimba from Gabon. He's passed. The man had ruled the country for 42 years. Okay, it's crazy. Africans are not ready for democracy. That's the truth. He was accused of siphoning off billions of dollars from Gabon oil wealth. Yes, Gabon's got so much oil, they have a lot of it. and a lot of money was invested into France in assets and Bongo's family. So many of the stuff were seized, including properties in Paris. Then after his death, his son took power. This man right here, Ali Bongo. It's crazy. I mean, there's something about black people. I'm sorry to tell you the truth. You want to know the true face of a black person? See when he gets power. Okay, don't listen to him when he's got nothing. He's going to tell you anything you want to hear. As soon as he's got power, then he tells you he's bigger than the Constitution. There's nothing you can tell. There's nobody can stop him from... Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. Do you feel like this is... I just called you fellas. Drop a comment right here. You know we need it so we can push the video further. I really want to know how you feel about this. Do you feel like this is, putting your nose into business that don't concern you as a European country? Or do you feel that this is justified? This is a good way to discourage many African leaders from stealing money from their nations while they're struggling looking for hospitals and schools for their children. Okay, have you dropped your comment? Make sure you drop the comment. And also, by the way, before you leave, YouTube say a lot of you guys watch videos but you're not subscribed. Why are you not subscribed? But I do like you. We like you here. We want you to stay. We want you to come back tomorrow. We come back every single day, many times a day. Please click on the button, subscribe, and punch the notification so we can see each other every single day. God bless.